Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Derek McPherson. I'm a Vice President Equity Research Analyst at Red Cloud Securities. On today's webinar, we're featuring Silver Tigre Metals. And while this is a newly rebranded company, its team have had serial success in Mexico and are looking to do it again with their El Tigre silver and gold silver project. Today, presenting on behalf of the company today is Glenn Jessam, President, CEO, and Director of Silver Tigre. And I'd like to thank Glenn for joining us from Halifax today.
Thank you.
The format of today's webinar. First, Glenn's going to give us an introduction Glenn's going to give us an introduction to Silver Tigre and talk to a little bit what investors can expect over the next few months. And then we'll take less questions live from the audience. So please feel free to put your questions in the chat box at any time, and we'll get to as many as we can. To start with, we'll handle disclosures, and then we'll get into the presentations. So for Silver Tigre, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this call. I would direct listeners to the cautionary note on page 2 of Silver Tigre's corporate presentation, located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities, Inc., I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. And we note that this call does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. So with that out of the way, I will turn it over to Glenn to introduce Silver Tigre Metals to our audience. Glenn?
Thank you, Derek. When you first consider a precious metals explorer, we've always believed in our long history, 25 years in Mexico, building mines, finding and building them, that you need to have three things. You need the team, you need the asset, and you need jurisdictional expertise. If you have all those and you have a track record, I feel that you're off to a fantastic start with respect to exploring a jurisdiction. We have those things with Silver Tigre. I've been very fortunate to be associated with a wonderful technical team there. Both technical teams based out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. The team in Mexico led by Ramon Luna. Ramon, 25 years, has been working with my group here in Halifax, and throughout that time has found a large number of assets. Ocampo put in production, El Cubo put in production. Ocampo was sold to Carlos Slim after mining for many years for $750 million. That was Ramon's asset, all built out of Halifax. El Cubo was sold for $250 million to Endeavour Silver after we put in production. Nairi was another one of our finds down there in the past 25 years. That was sold to Capital Gold, a very good alpha return for the shareholders on that. And then more recent years, Dave Duncan, who was with Etruscan Resources based out of Halifax for many years. You can read all about these guys in the slide deck and all the mines they found and built. Dave, basically after the assets in Etruscan were sold to Endeavour Mining, a big mining company out of Vancouver, Dave wanted to build his own company. He approached me. I'm a securities lawyer by training, so I have a little bit of insights into putting together and building public companies. I love the idea. And what we all decided to do was let's marry Dave Duncan's team and their success in Africa with Ramon's team in Mexico, and it's worked magically. Since they've been working together, they've worked on other projects there. The Santa Gratuitas project we'll talk about, that was identified by this team 4 years ago, acquired by a similar, this group, sold to Agnico Eagle after we'd owned it for 2 years, after spending about $9 million, acquired it for $9 million, sold to Agnico. You can go check the facts on this, for $90 million US. That was 2.5 years ago. By the time we sold the royalty on that one, it was well over 100. Los Ricos is another project they found in a very successful company out of Halifax called Go Gold. Ramon has worked with that company for the 25-year period, or the founders of that company. That had a $25 million bought deal financing led by BMO and Sprott in February of this year. And in amongst there, Ramon and Dave said we need to acquire the El Tigre property. You're looking at that on the screen. We did acquire that several years ago. It was a publicly traded company out of Vancouver called El Tigre Silver, the real shareholder base out of Edmonton. That team drilled about 10,000 meters, did an absolutely fantastic job, my shareholders out of Edmonton, especially in putting that package together. What you're seeing there is the asset. I've talked about the team. I've talked about their jurisdictional experience, their track record. Now let's talk about the asset. Large land package. That line I've just drawn on the presentation, 35 kilometers. This is a almost 30,000 hectare land package. Our exploration really only has scratched the surface in this 3 or 4 kilometers around the El Tigre mine. And let's talk about that El Tigre mine now. There's always a why you acquire these things. Why did Ramon Luna come and tell me that with Dave's assistance we needed to acquire it? It's about tenor of grade on this district's size project down there. The old El Tigre mine, 1903, 1925. I'll show you some more diagrams about that shortly. Almost 100 million silver equivalent ounces taken out of it at an average grade of over 2 kilograms. That's over 2,000 grams. Very high grade mine. We think that the northern vein extensions we're going to talk about will be exciting as we start to explore those. But we've already drilled off. Part 1 was drilling off the resource. Part 2 is now getting north and exploring the vein extensions, which we have a few holes in already, and I'll show you those. Before we move from the project, what we love about this is easily road accessible. We're about 80 kilometers from the U.S. border in Sonora, which is the best mining jurisdiction in Mexico as far as we're concerned, and we've been there for 25 years. 100 kilometers of the Pacific Ocean, that places us. We drive right up the federal highway, and you can see the road coming in off of there. We drive right to site, lots of kilometers and kilometers of exploration roads on the site, very easily accessible. We're about 2 hours from Hermosillo, a major city in Mexico. That's where our exploration team, Ramon and Dave, are based. You can see that there's power lines running right through it. That was very fortunate for us. And basically, those run to Cananea, one of the largest copper mines on the planet. We see their waste dumps from our site. This is on the Sierra Madre, that 1,500 kilometer prolific trend. We're about 80 or 90 kilometers south of us would be Silvercrest asset Chispa. About 100 kilometers is Santa Gratuitas. That's the asset I mentioned earlier that this same technical team found 4 years ago and sold about 2.5 years ago to Agnico for the numbers I talked about. What I'm going to do here, guys, is what I call a shallow dive. I'm going to try to get through this whole thing in the next 10 minutes or so. I'm going to do, this is a paper slide deck. We're on Verify, V-R-I-F-Y. Many of you may be knowledgeable about that. If you're not, you should. I'll give you some information at the end. In our slide deck, the link is there to take you to our 3D online slide deck there. That's a deep dive where you can see all the surrounding mines around us. You can go underground. You can actually see the stopes and all the work we've done. I'm going to do one of those on Zoom in a week or two, and I'll make sure everybody knows about it. But this is sort of introduce the project, let you know what we have. Before we move from this slide, some things that are very important for us in dealing with Mexico is there are no Ejido here. That's native peoples. We've never had a project in our 25 years. We didn't have to deal with that. So that's a bonus. It makes it less complicated. We have agreement with all of the ranchers for this 35 kilometers to explore in place. We've proven our theory enough that not only do I have all the mineral rights here, but I've actually acquired for the company, or we have Silver Tiger, the middle 7,000 hectares I've drawn that box around. We actually bought that land package, cost us $1.1 million. And so that's under our control. That's going to be very useful for down the road as we move more to the mining side of it than exploration. And a real nice piece on this is, and many times when we've put packages together ourselves here, there's always overhanging royalties by the previous landowners. This is royalty free. We still have that royalty, which is going to be of great value to us as we move forward with this project. Let's skip ahead here, folks. That's enough about that. We're going to keep on going. This is interesting, and why I want to show you this. This is the geology map. We won't spend a lot of time here. There'll be a much deeper dive when I do the Verify presentation on this. This is what we'll be talking about mainly today. 6 or 7 kilometers. That's where that line is drawn. We'll keep coming back to that. This little area here is part 1. That's already done. That was the boring, non-sexy, non-exciting part where we drilled off 85 million silver equivalent ounces around the old El Tigre mine after near 100 million silver equivalent ounces had already been taken out at the turn of the 1900s at over 2 kilos. We'll get to that in a minute. this is what we'll be spending our time on. The point on this is the technical team I referred to and talked about, which is the basis for this company, Ramon Luna and Dave Duncan, experts in epithermal systems in Mexico. I won't say they're all exactly the same, but they are very, very similar. You have a transition between this gray area here that is the upper volcanics, which was deposited probably 15 million years ago, this lower volcanic 30 million years ago. It's always this transition zone in the middle between those where we find high up in the system these large epithermal systems like Tayatito, Pino Salto, Santa Cratudas, one of our other projects, Cheese Paw with Silvercrest. They're very, very, very similar. And our team are experts for 25 years in finding and in some cases building them. The slide I'm going to show you here really represents what we did, and I call this part one. Part one's done. That was done in 1718, finished and on the books. This is the old El Tigre mine. You can see it. It's represented there. That's where the old timers from 1903 to 1930 took out almost 100 million silver equivalent ounces at over 2 kilos, 10 or a grade. Not why we acquired this, but we knew that if we went in and drilled 10,000 meters in the, or 12, 15 in the upper 150 meters over this old mine, there was a halo of mineralization around it. The old timers wanted nothing to do with anything that was under 2 kilos. Actually, the mine's backfilled with Rasaga that's average, that has a grade of probably a couple of grams of gold. But there was a wide alteration around this of about 100 meters. And really what our team did is in 17 into 18, we went in and we drilled that and drilled our 13,000 meters. We had some historic drilling from the company we acquired, El Tigre Silver, 30,000 meters of drilling, and we delivered a 43-101 compliant report. You can go on to CDAR and look at that. It's in gold equivalent, 1 million ounces. A great starter pit. If you do rough math, 85 million silver equivalent ounces. But you can go and have a look at those things and see it. Not why we bought it. We call it the low-hanging fruit, part one. Put it on the books. We did that. That's finished. Now we're on to really why we acquired the project. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back and explain a little bit more here. I think it would be helpful for everybody. So putting back in perspective where we are and where we're going, part one, that's already done and drilled off. These veins continue for 3-4 kilometers to the north. Unmined in the box, that mine was done. We still delivered a 1 million ounce gold resource in an open pit setting in that mine. We stepped out and we did some exploration. I'm going to whet your appetite here with a hole in the Cayley vein. We drilled a meter of 10 kilos silver. 7.3 of those kilos were 10 silver equivalent. A true 7.3 kilograms of that was silver, the rest gold. Why that was so important for us is that's exactly what the old timers were down here going after from 1903 to 1930. Let's keep moving. This is representative of the kind of things we did in part one. You can go look at this and verify or see them here. 100-meter cuts, gram and a half gold, some 2. That's with the high grade already out of it. Imagine if the high grade was in it, and that's really what we're doing, is where is potentially the next El Tigre mine, possibly to the north with the high grade still in it. That ended part one. Here's part two, guys. Part two is now where we're going. I drew the box earlier around those 3 or 4 kilometer vein extensions. Same vein extensions from the old El Tigre mine. The old El Tigre mine, we've already talked about that, ended here. This is not to scale where I've drawn that arrow. We stepped out near the end of our last drill program and we drilled hole 144. You can see the results there. That was about 2.5 kilometers on those continuous veins that hadn't been mined and north of the El Tigre mine. And we had a beautiful intercept. We had 3 meters of almost 40 grams per ton gold. But it was that almost meter of the 10 kilo stuff that was the moment when we said, we're on the right track. This high grade is continuing north, and we really need to go drill these 3 or 4 kilometers. And that's what we're getting ready to do now. That was at 2018. Market was tough, guys. It was hard to raise money. We'd raised about 15 million and put most of it in the ground to drill off this resource, acquire the project, and do all the mapping and sampling north for the next drill program. There's a cross section of the last hole 144 and also one hole 145 you can look at. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I'll do a much deeper dive on that and verify. But you can see that we had 2 intercepts on that same drill hole, the Cayley vein and the Protectora, very close together. Some super high-grade silver in all of them. And really right here, what's interesting too, is we started to see the first indication in our drill hole that, you know, we're going to see some wide cuts of potential up there for some open pittable stuff. More on that as we drill later. But we think we're going to see both as we go north, and that will become very important because it'll be very similar to the old El Tigre mine. This is what we spent our time on, guys, in 2018, 19. Didn't want to spend a ton of money drilling. We had to get to know what was to the north. This is a beautiful picture. If you look on the right side, you can see the old El Tigre mine, the kilometer and a half broken out. We drilled the resource off on that. You can go look at it and pontificate on it. But what's really exciting for us is that area to the north. None of this had ever been mined. But once we got boots on the ground there, after we finished drilling halfway through 18, through 19, we started finding all kinds of underground adits. These adits were put there by the old timers around 1920, 25, we're guessing. That's how they explored that. And they didn't drill. They drifted in on the vein for 20, 30 meters. We found dozens and dozens of these. This is just indicative of what we did. And you can find some press releases from 18 and 19 with all kinds of results like this. We get in the underground in all these openings, and you can see that not only with the hole we drilled up on the Cayley, which was about, I would say, here, which is 2 kilometers, 2.5 kilometers north of the end of the mine. This is all unmined veins you're looking at. They all daylight. We walk on them. We go in the openings on them. But it continues up on the Fundadora. We have some drill holes up there, and basically we're seeing this high grade continue. Let's keep going here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that one. We are going to talk here before we go and talk about what we're getting ready to do. Let's look at this picture. This is about from here, all on our project, to about here, Polares. That's 20 kilometers. If I was drawing in the old El Tigre, that kilometer where we drilled the resources here, our vein extensions we mapped and sampled go up to about here, as you can see. Cayley drilled up about here. This is going to be our priority. The nice thing about this is this El Tigre structure, which hosts these veins, it continues 5 kilometers down to here, another 3 to La Mancha. There's another mine in our package up here called Polares, more of a skarn type deposit. We've been up, down here we've been in the underground, high grade gold and silver. We'll get to that some point. We'll also get to this, but here's where we're focusing. This 3, 4, 5 kilometer mine extension to the north of the old El Tigre mine. That's part 2. That's what's getting ready to start now, guys. So let's go have a look at this and get rid of that. This is what we're getting ready to start with. You can see it's broken out very nicely. That's our land package. As you'll see to the right, you can see the 6 kilometers. To make everybody, that's the old El Tigre mine that we drilled. There's the 1.5 kilometers. This is where we're going. None of this up here has been mined. The Cayley 2.5, you saw that. We've been in all the underground openings up here. We've mapped and sampled. We're drill ready for 10,000 meters. We've drilled hundreds of thousands, this team, if not millions of meters in Mexico. We're about $200 all in per meter. That's camp, that's drilling, that's geologists, that's get it off the mountain, get it assayed. It's going to cost about $2 million to do that. That'll be about an 80-hole program that we're going to do. The holes are very shallow. All of these veins daylight to the north as you look at them. We actually collar mineralization some of our drill holes. We'll probably there'll be some that'll be shorter than 100 meters. If we decide we want to drill 2 of those veins, as we showed in that cross section, and maybe intercept the Cayley and the Protectora, they're so close they could go 100. So we think we'll get a good 80 meters. We're going to have some fantastic drill results, we think, potential, coming out this throughout late summer into the fall. I don't say lightly. We think some of those could be in the kilo, 2 kilo. You've seen what we've already done and press released on the Kaylee. Super high grade underground veins close to surface. We think that when we start delivering those, we're going to start really, as we've seen for our neighbors in Sonora that have done the same thing, creating alpha growth. And that's what we're getting ready to do. It's exciting. We've got to go drill the holes now, and we're moving towards that. Before I end and start to take some questions, I'd urge anyone who's online listening to get on Verify. Take a deep dive in our slide deck there. This was, as I said, a shallow dive. It will, I think you'll enjoy that. I am going to do a Verify presentation next couple of weeks for anyone who wants to really do that. I would welcome that. Contact information is there. You have the slide deck. I think it's been sent to everyone, or they can access it on our website. My contact information is there. We're on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. Reach out with questions. And we trade on the venture as SLVR. We do have an OTCQB full listing for anyone in the States who might be watching this. And excuse me, we fully report down there, so you can have full access to all the reporting we do in Canada, and it makes it much easier to trade, and the symbol there is SLVTF. That's all I have. I'm going to open it up to questions, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Glenn, and that was a very succinct presentation, but I think got the key message across. Maybe we'll start. I'll start with a question. You mentioned it a little bit at the beginning of the presentation as to why you and your team were so excited about El Tigre. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about why you guys selected that project, and then how you're able to secure such a high grade past producer as well.
Well, I've listed them, and your audience can go back and look that this team. Ramon early days, and then Ramon with Dave later. When you see the kind of success they've had in identifying assets from Ocampo, El Cubo, Nayarit, Los Ricos, Santa Gratuitas, when Ramon comes and says, we need to have this district and this asset, well, I listen right away. But the more deeper dive on that is, and what convinced me was, he had to say one thing, Glenn, the old El Tigre mine, from 1903 to 1930, delivered almost 100 million silver equivalent ounces at 2 kilograms per ton average grade. That tenor that's gone. He also said we'll drill off a resource around that of about, his guess was, he was pretty good guess, 1 million gold equivalent ounces, which they delivered. But it was the tenor of grade. That's 1.5 kilometers of 35 kilometers with veins going in south, and we haven't talked about the south, they continue there, but we're focused on the north. 4 and 5 kilometers, the same vein system, looking like it's holding that same high grade veins, and the potential where it's in the broad El Tigre structure, the great plumbing, to have some potential open pittable or bulk tonnage material. I was pretty interested in putting that under my control, our control at Silver Tigre.
Right. Yeah. That's good. Now, maybe just to follow that up, you've talked a little bit about your team and the success they've had. What are some of the key things of that past success they've had that you guys besides the people that you're bringing to Silver Tigre to sort of make this a win for shareholders as well?
Well, I said, I think early on in this, you have to start with the team. You can clearly see who our team is. It's all public record. The asset, we think it's incredible. And you've got to remember, I didn't mention this, but we have that 35 kilometers not only locked up for the mineral rights, 7,000 hectares of that 30,000 hectares, we own the land package. If you are familiar with Mexico, the Mexican government have stopped granting concessions for the past several years. So to have that in our control, full control, is of great value to us. But with respect to the team, it's all about jurisdiction, guys. We've been asked many times, when you have success and you've built mines, people want you to go to Colombia. They want you to go to, let's go to Africa. Let's go to Peru. We have stayed and tended to our knitting in Mexico for 25 years. What you learn in those 25 years about not only turning a drill, but moving through the environmental process, moving through the actual permitting for a mine, building a large mine. That is going to the University of Mining in Mexico, and this team have done that and come out on the other side, and their experience is unparalleled.
Right. So a question from the audience from Alan on the dirt road from the paved highway to the project.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, have you upgraded the dirt road from paved highway, and then approximately how much was spent on this, and how stable is the road now?
Well, and that's a very good question. You upgrade your road in Mexico every year, and the way that works, we have a very, very what happened there, and for Alan, I'll tell you, is we were so fortunate, and when we started looking at the project, Anaconda, an old mining company, had been in there, big mining company in the 80s. They were looking for flux. They're one of the biggest mining companies in the world. They're gone now. And they built a road system into this, and on this, we're only guessing, but our experts in Mexico would guess that $10 million was expended, not only on the road to get in, less on that road, more on the tens and tens of kilometers from one end of that exploration property there that we can just drive on. And you can see some of this, Alan. Go on the website and look at some of the videos on there, aerial drone footage. You'll see these roads going off for kilometers. We drive half tons on those. We drive right to site. Now, it's Mexico. Every rainy season comes in June, July, August. Your roads wash out. You go in and you fix them. And then the next year, the rainy season comes and we fix them. We got in there, thought we were clear in October of rainy season this year. This is how it goes. Fixed every one of those roads. We could drive right to site, half-ton trucks. And we had a freak storm in December of this year, washed them out. So when we go with the dozer again, it's all dozer work. There are dozers, actually, we have a very good relationship with one of the ranchers there, has a large dozer. We use that, and we just fix the road again. And we're going to have to fix it again in September, but it's fully accessible. That's just doing business in Mexico and the Sierra Madre.
Yeah, it's a constant task.
Alan, I'll tell you one thing. If you're listening, just get on Verify. It's so easy. Verify.com, or download the app on your iPad. Go play with our slide deck or presentation. All kinds of photographs and aerial footage of the road system, and you'll see it's quite substantial. It's one of our strongest points, the infrastructure here.
So, Glenn, a couple questions on the drill program. I think you mentioned the scale at 10,000 meters, but give or take, what's the cost per meter for you guys, and then and how much? When do you expect to start drilling, and when do you expect first results?
As I've said, and I think I mentioned it, we don't look at, drilling in Mexico is about $103, $105 a meter now. That's just your drill company. That's really not how we look at it. We look at an all-in meterage cost. We're about $200 a meter, and that includes get the drill core out of the ground. That includes forget the drill team and moving the drill and standby. That's in it. But you need geologists to be logging the core. You need that camp to be set up. We have a very substantial camp there. You can see some of the photographs of that on our website also. That's the camp. That's getting it off the mountain. That's getting it assayed and getting a press release out. It's about $200 a meter. We're looking at 10,000 meters, so it's pretty simple to do the math. That's $2 million. That's what we're going to spend. 80 holes. Those basically will be. They're not deep holes because these are shallow veins to the north that we're going to drill. Most of them daylight. We see them. We see where they go. So that's the next drill program. Results. I was thinking of that the other day. We're back on the mountain now. The roads are ready. We have geologists on site. We're going to get the drill rig up there. We're going to have some heavy rain in July. I'm not going to lie to people. We're going to be working through that. I would say you're going to see the first drill results coming out of here. If I'm guessing correctly, will be in August. It's not going to be 2 weeks from now. Do I have the option of exciting people and getting a man portable up there in the back of a half ton and drill 2 or 3 holes on the Kaylee? Sure. But from my perspective, that's really not what I think is our priority at this time. What I think we're going to do is we're going to get ready and we're going to capitalize and fund this company properly so that we can get those 2 drill rigs started up there in or about, I would say that drill should start turning in July, both of them.
Okay.
And you can guess where we're going to go. We're going to start up around the Cayley where our last hole had an intercept of 10 kilos.
That's always a good place to start.
Yes.
You've had some recent success in trying to expand on it. Follow-up question here on a little bit on and it fits well. I'll talk just finishing up on the drill program on capital structure. What's the current cash position, and then the question about how many shares out as well.
We have about probably $800,000 to $1 million in treasury. Like all juniors through the and it was a survival game there for a long time from 2011 to 2012. We raised substantial amounts of money to drill off this resource, acquire this project, get it drill ready for this. We have approximately 200 million shares outstanding. That's our capital structure. We're trading at, I haven't looked today, I've been busy today on phone calls, but probably 16, 17 cents. So trading in around a $30 million market cap. We think that's appropriate for, the nice little starter resource we have, the underpinning of that starter resource. But the exciting part is to start doing what some of our neighbors in Sonora did, who had a similar market cap when they started drilling some of these high-grade extensions. We think that the valuation is going to catch up very quickly. What I will say is, while we're getting ready to drill, and Derek, you've been so helpful with Red Cloud for this, when I tell people that when the market got so bad, we parked the asset. We haven't really, and many people probably haven't heard about the asset very much, because we wanted to wait until the market was ready for it. I think silver is an infra metal. Not only is it a precious metal, and not only is it industrial, it's infra. When you see what's happened in the world, and we know where 5G is going to go, and we see where we're going to have solar power going, we think that the future and the torque on the silver prices is now ready for the asset that we have. So we're really going to capitalize on this. But today is the launch. I mean, and thank you, Derek, for doing this. This is our retail launch. We're going to focus on this for the next couple of weeks as the drill rigs start moving towards the mountain, as the crew gets ready to bring that core off the mountain and get assays together in August. And then we're going to have steady news all through the fall. But, we're not going to sit on our laurels and wait until those results come out. People who can look at this asset that understand it are going to quickly see what the potential once we start drilling those northern veins is. And we're going to let the world know about what we think is one of the few, and there's not a lot of them, real quality silver projects, not only in Mexico, but in the world.
Well, we definitely agree with your view on silver. I think we're in for 100 to 1 is not where the ratio is going to stay, and I think we're going to get some kind of comeback. I don't know if it's going to come back to historical levels or not, but silver and silver companies, especially companies with high grade drill results on the come, should do very well. Just another question about the maybe corporate strategy a little bit. Why wouldn't Silver Tigre just sell the asset versus continue to go out and explore it?
Look, I got to be careful what I say here. That's a loaded question. I could have sold this asset numerous times over the past several years. The reality is that we are experts in Mexico. This technical team is expert. We don't need, and I'm not belittling some groups or anyone, but if you've not been in Mexico and found, drilled, developed, and built a mine, you don't have that experience. We have that experience, and we're not afraid to go deeper in the cycle than trying to sell the asset quickly. We're going to do our work. We're going to keep our heads down. We're going to drill the next 10,000 meters. I think those results will be excellent. I think that will lead to a phase 2 larger drill program in that same area. And as we drill those and create shareholder value and the world starts to see what we have, will there be opportunities for us to sell the asset? Yes. Am I interested in leaving this asset behind? You don't get these assets in your career every day. We've been very fortunate to have a number of them. We think this is a world-class silver asset, and we're certainly not going to be interested in selling it at the values we're at now, 16 to 20 cents, when we think that the increase in our valuation in this market and with what we're going to deliver with the drill bit are going to be, I got to be careful how I use alpha return, but let's just say we're going to create some great shareholder value. I'm the largest shareholder in the company. I have almost $2 million of my own dollars in this since I've become involved with it, since we took it public. I am very vested to make this into a big win for all of my shareholders, and including my technical team. I should say that you should also know that Dave Duncan and my management team are all very, very, very vested. And we get out one way. We don't sell our stock until we build a mine or we sell the company. That's it. And we've done that many times in the past. And if you go back and check our track record, think you'll see that we've done a good job of doing that. And that's what we intend to do. We're just starting. We're not looking to leave yet. I guess that's the answer to the question.
Yeah. I think that's a fair that's a fair question. Well, it's about creating maximum value.
Absolutely.
There's always a price. It just depends where it is.
Absolutely, that's the right answer.
There's, I guess, just thinking a little bit about the targets that you have, and you from a slightly non-technical perspective, but what of the targets out there on the different veins to the north and to the south, which ones are you most excited about? Getting a drill up on to go target.
Well, let's look at it this way. So what we know about, and you can go back and really, I wish I could show you on the Verify, it's so clear, but we'll do a deep dive in that at a later time. But if you think about what we talked about earlier, everybody's watching the northern end of the El Tigre mine, and then those veins, they have different names. They're called Protectora Fundadora. The Repaly is named after my 15-year-old daughter because we actually found that one a couple of years ago. They're the same veins. They just have a different name. They're a continuation of the El Tigre vein, the sites Kelly and the Sui, which were mined at El Tigre. We see what's so exciting about this is we see that high grade continuing. We can say that because we've drilled 2.5 kilometers to the north ourselves. We've gone in the underground all the way up, and we see 1, 2, even more kilograms per, of silver in those samples. But what's exciting also is as you go further north, and there's 3 veins there. On the right, there's Protectora, the Kelly in the middle, and then there's the Fundadora on the far side towards the Pacific. They're all so close. You saw we drilled the Kelly and continued the drill for another 50 or 75 meters, and we picked up the Protectora. This is what we really need to talk about here. Is if you look at the El Tigre and why that great deposit, that epithermal system, deposited all that gold and silver there. It's where veins come together where you see this. In that great El Tigre brecciation, that great plumbing, if you look at the map, any map we have on that system, look at all those veins coming together up there. The last thing I'll say is very interesting, and then I'll answer where we're going to go first. On the Fundadora, which would be towards the Pacific, close to the Kelly, Anaconda drifted on that for 300 meters back in the 80s looking for flux. We have all those records, high-grade gold and silver underground. So we know it continues even further than where we drilled with the Kelly. So I would say what you're going to see is we're going to get to the Kelly. We're going to basically start stepping out from that drill result. We're not going to ignore the Protectora to the right or Fundadora. I think you're going to see 2 drill rigs, and one's going to start moving north and one's going to start moving south. And my goal is to drill the whole 3 or 4 kilometers. And remember what's going to happen here. This is new discovery up there. Make no mistake about it. Those holes we delivered on the Kelly, that's a new discovery, period. But remember, as we drill this, we already have an underpinned resource. We have the team also that we're not going to not pay attention to continuing to add to that resource. Is that our major goal? As we drill these holes 50 meters apart and stepping out, that's automatically going to start adding to that resource and higher grade also. So you'll see us doing both.
Okay.
Starting at the Kelly. And
there's just a couple of other questions, and I think this is one of these you answered earlier in the presentation. But the question is there a royalty on the property to the third party at this time?
I want to give we acquired El Tigre Silver, fantastic group of shareholders when we did acquire the project, and what their team did wonderfully was to put together 35 kilometers on this prolific trend is almost impossible. They did that over a 10 or 12-year period, and when they put it back together from all once El Tigre mine had closed, these concessions went to all kinds of Mexican owners. They brought it all back together, and what they did is when they put it together, they didn't taint it by saying, okay, we're going to take it, but we're going to give you a 5% royalty or a 6, 0. So that was the beautiful work. They did great drill work, great exploration, but my shareholders, which are probably a lot of them listening, they're wonderful shareholders, great supporters, especially out of Edmonton. That was the great work they did, and we still have that royalty. That royalty will be worth a considerable amount as we start to continue to drill this, and it already is. And you can understand how we will be able to use that possibly to drive this project without diluting our shareholders anymore. And those are things that I'll start to look at here very soon.
Yeah, it's nice having that unencumbered. It's very rare to find projects, especially in historic districts that are unencumbered. So it's
yeah, that's a wonderful thing they did.
Yeah. And then a question from one last question from the line here. Was this project ever related to a company called Cypria Mining? And I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if you do, Glenn.
I have. We know the history of this land package. We think we know it fully. Everyone's there. I've never heard of Cypria Mining. I have no idea who they are.
Okay, so let's we'll go with no until someone proves otherwise.
What we saw in there, really, what happened. If you want the full history, guys, very interesting. Is that the mine really closed in the 30s? It sat dormant. A bunch of Mexican landowners, persons from Mexico, acquired various portions of it. And then the group out of Edmonton started putting that back together and reassembled it. And the drilling that you'll always see on there is Anaconda did some historic. I think they had an option agreement to do some work back in the day. And then really it was El Tigre, Silver, and ourselves. So that's been the history there. And that's where those 30,000 meters you'll see in all of our presentations that were drilled came from.
It's it's exciting. It's a new discovery with a lot of historic work.
Absolutely. Well, as my partner said, and look at the history here. When you go to Mexico and you want to find a new precious metals, silver and or gold discovery, where do you look? You look around the head frame of an old mine. And I can just list them off. Chispa, El Tigre, Sandra Gratuitous, Los Ricos. They're all the same.
Right.
None of them are really true new discoveries. The Spanish were there for a long, long time.
Okay. I think with that, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much, Glenn. I appreciate the time today in presenting and introducing the story to our viewers. I'd like to thank everyone for attending and making this work, because without a presenter and without viewers, it would just be me talking to myself. So I'm glad everyone was here. And with that, just as a reminder, our next webinar for Red Cloud is going to be this Thursday with Regulus and Aldebaran, June 11th at 1 p.m. And Glenn's going to have a deep dive Zoom call on Silver Tigre so something else to pay attention to.
Right, and that will be Derek. Really want people to take a deep dive themselves and verify, and we'll let everybody know when I'm going to walk everyone through that deep dive on verifying myself in our slide deck there. I think they'll find that very, very helpful.
Great, excellent. Thank you, everybody, and have a good day.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening.